Hare Krishna and welcome to everyone to our course overview of Gita. Today is our 61st class and we are discussing chapter 18 titled as The Perfection of Renunciation. This is our second class on chapter number 18. Let us begin by offering Mangalacharan prayers. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayamarupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगणललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च हे कृष्णा करुणा सिन्धो दीनबन्धो जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिकान्त राधाकान्त नमोऽस्तुते तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्रीराधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्णा हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. So now starting with the overview chart of chapter 18. In the previous class we have already covered up till verse number 17, and the two topics that we have discussed so far is Karma Yoga. This is a revision of Karma Yoga by Lord Krishna, once again explaining that it is not that whether you perform uh, renunciation or action, it is more important to perform or easier to perform action in the mood of renunciation. So this has been the theme of first 6 chapters of Bhagavad Gita, and Lord Krishna has once again repeated that theme in front of Arjuna. And in order to explain Arjuna that although you will be doing some activity, but while you are doing this activity or karma, you will still not get bound by a karma. He starts to explain the 5 factors of action, which is very similar to the 3 doers that we have studied in chapter number 5. So the 5 factors of action that he explains is the adhisthana, the karma, the karta, the cheshta, and the daivam. So this has we have already discussed, and now today we will try to cover the section number 3, which is ranging from verse number 18 till 40. So almost 23 verses we will cover. So the class will be a little bit fast paced in terms of the verses that we will cover, but they are relatively simpler, and we will be able to make sense because it is once again repeating the same theme of the 3 modes of material nature, which we have discussed in chapter number 14 and chapter number 17. So let us begin our class once again by revising the class. So this is the previous class from verse number 1 till verse number 17. I give you a very brief overview, but let us go item by item. Arjuna started this discussion in chapter number 18 by asking a question. He's mainly asking what is sannyas and what is tyag. So this question he has been asking in chapter number 3, in chapter number 5. So I can call it something like a frequently asked question by Arjuna in Gita. So what is sannyas and what is tyag? And Lord Krishna has been answering this question to Arjuna in elaborate detail in chapter 3 and 5. Here once again he explains this to Arjuna, where he says that sannyas is giving up kamya karma and tyag is sarva karma phala tyaga. So kamya karma means giving us activities which are material in nature. So altogether giving up the activities is known as sannyas. And tyag is sarva karma phala tyaga. Sarva karma phala tyaga means you don't give the activities but give the fruit of the activities. Sarva karma phala, karma phala. So it is not sarva karma tyaga, it is karma phala tyaga. Karma tyaga is actually sannyas, and that is in specific kamya karma tyaga. But tyaga is sarva karma phala tyaga. So giving up fruit of the activities. So renouncing the fruit of the activities, that is tyaga. Krishna, before going into an elaborate discussion, he mentions that there are two popular opinions about what is tyaga. And first opinion he mentions is about giving up all activities as faulty. So one school of thought says that give up all activities, they are faulty. There is some fault or the other in the activities. And the second of school of thought is that sacrifice, charity, austerity should never be given up. Now Krishna starts to explain this chapter uh, by providing his own opinion on tyag. And he starts elaborating on saying that never give up sacrifice, charity, and austerity, and do this dutifully and selflessly. So he's kind of endorsing the second school of thought that he have just mentioned, that never give up sacrifice, charity, and austerity. But then he also uh, kind of reconciles the first school of thought by telling that uh, uh, even if we do sacrifice, charity, and austerity, we should do these kind of activities in the mode of goodness. That is, we should do it in duty, out of as a matter of duty, and selflessly. Then he starts to explain that these tyaga can be in three modes. Uh, so then he elaborates that in three modes tyaga can be explained. In mode of goodness, tyaga is driven by a sense of duty. In mode of passion, tyaga is driven by uh, that people feel uncomfortable and troublesome, and they don't take up to that duty because of these two factors. And in ignorance, people give duty because they find it illusion, they are not following the scriptural rules and regulation. So then Lord opinion about sannyas and tyaga we discussed in that indirectly is in verse number 7, where he's explaining about tyaga in mode of ignorance. He equates both tyaga as uh, and sannyas as equal. So uh, there he gives this opinion that actually sannyas and tyag is more or less the same. Then he gives his own understanding of true tyagi. He says that true tyagi is that person who renounces the results of action. He further explains that such a person does not hate any duty which is uncomfortable, and does not specifically prefer some duty which is pleasurable in nature. Further, he starts to explain 5 factors of action, because Arjuna already had this question that, okay, I am doing karma, I am doing this activity of fighting the war, but I am going to get bound, I am going to get reaction. So in order to explain to Arjuna that you should understand in what circumstances uh, uh, if you act and if you perform this duty in what consciousness, then you are not going to get any any reaction or any bondage because of that. So in order to explain to Arjuna this kind of question, he further elaborates into 5 factors of action, which is adhishthanam, karta, karanam, cheshtha, and daivam. So adhishthanam is body or the field of activity. Karta is the doer. Karanam is the senses. Cheshtha is the endeavor. And Daivam is the super soul. So why this and how these are interrelated? So adhishthanam means without the body we cannot perform any action. I gave you the analogy of a cricketer trying to hit a six. So a cricketer need to have a body, and this body should be alive. Alive means the soul should be there. So karta is the soul, karta is the doer, karta is the soul. Karnam means the senses, so he should have these hands in the proper condition, the legs should be in the proper condition, eyes should be able to view the ball, and he should be physically fit. So adhishthanam, karanam, karta. Cheshta means, cheshta is actually the combination of uh, both the karta and the body. So that is actually the cheshta. So cheshta means he has to endeavor, he has to be willing to hit the six, he has to endeavor. And daivam is the super soul. Super soul is that the ultimate sanctioner is Supreme Lord. Now this knowledge is important because once you have this knowledge, you actually are able to understand that you are not the only doer. There are many other factors which makes you do any activity and make that activity successful. So this knowledge leads us to the feeling of renunciation. This knowledge leads us to the feeling of shelter to the Supreme Lord. That we understand that actually for any activity that we perform and it is successful, ultimately it is the Supreme Lord who is the ultimate cause behind any success in our lives. So with that kind of a feeling, the person understands that one should perform any activity for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. And when the activity is performed for the pleasure of the Supreme Lord, then one does not get bound. And then uh, yeah, so I have already covered this last two bullet. Knowledge of five causes of action should inspire detachment, selflessness, and dutifulness. And when one acts in such a mood, he is not bound, even though doing ghastly act of killing. So that was the 17th verse, where Lord Krishna clarifies to Arjuna that if you are doing your activity in this mood of detachment, selflessness, and dutifulness, keeping the Supreme Lord in your consciousness, then even if you fight this ghastly war, or which involves a lot of killing, you will not be bound. So now we will move to the next section. And in this section, the major emphasis is on how the modes control all actions and beings. So in the previous section, Lord Krishna has given the explanation about the five causes of action. In this section, Lord Krishna will start to explain how the modes, the Sattva Guna, the Rajoguna, and Tamoguna control all actions and beings. So the all pervasiveness of these modes, and nobody can escape these modes. So that is how he is going to explain in this section. Now, how the previous section is connected with this section, let us give a little thought about it. In the previous section, what we have understood is the five causes of action. And in this section, Lord is further explaining or further elaborating on uh, the action, the motivation behind action, and the constituents of action. So, as you recall, in the verse number 13 and 14 of this chapter, Lord Krishna mentioned that I will explain you uh, these idea of action, the karma, based on Sankhya. Like he says in 13th verse, Sankhya kritante proktani siddhaye sarva karmanam. So Sankhya means analytical study of any subject. Sankhya means counting 1, 2, 3, 4. So when we do analysis, what we do in an analysis, we break the subjects into subcomponents and we study each of the component, and then we try to develop our specific study of each of these components so that we can have a little detailed insight about that subject. So similarly, that is what Lord Krishna is doing. Because he started to explain karma, he first of all started to explain five causes of action. Uh, and then he starts to take this discussion of Sankhya or analysis to one level higher. Here in the 18th verse of this 18th chapter, he will describe three motivators of action, and three constituents of action. So let us first of all understand what do we mean by motivation of action and then constituents of action. So we should understand that any action that we perform, it is done at two levels. One is done at a initial level where we are understanding things, where we are learning things, where we are developing our knowledge, our perception of certain things. That is one level, which is covered in the first part of this 18th verse, which is three motivators of action. And then in the second part, once we have the knowledge, once we have the motivation, once we have these components, then we understand, then we are ready to do the activity. And that is something which is now the three constituents of action. So which involves karanam, karma, and karta. Karanam means instruments. We also discussed about karanam in the previous section, where we discussed about adhishthanam, karta, karanam, cheshtha, and daivam. So karanam was discussed in that part also. But in this section also, three constituents of action, it is karanam, karma, and karta. Let us see how Srila Prabhupada explains this in purport of this verse. Srila Prabhupada writes to the purport, before one acts, there is some impetus which is called inspiration. Any solution arrived at before work is actualized is a subtle form of work. Then work takes the form of action. First, one has to undergo the psychological process of thinking, feeling, and willing, and that is called impetus. Uh, Impetus, Srila Prabhupada is using the word impetus here, and I have used the word motivation. Now, what Srila Prabhupada is saying is, before any actual activity takes place, like for example, I'm giving you this explanation of Bhagavad Gita. Huh? So before giving you this class, I have to learn Bhagavad Gita. I have to practice Bhagavad Gita. I have to develop deeper understanding of Bhagavad Gita. And then I have to plan for a class. I have to conceive something, how many participants are going to be there, what should be the arrangement for this class, where I'm going to speak this class. All that I have to plan. So that is what here it is mentioned. Before one acts, there is some impetus, which is called inspiration. Uh, any solution arrived at before work is actualized is a subtle form of work. So subtle form means all this inspiration, all this planning takes place in at a subtle level in the mind. In the mind it takes place. Then work takes the form of action. Then the real action starts. Like now I'm presenting the class before you. Then the work takes place in the form of action. First, one has to undergo the psychological processes of thinking, feeling, and willing, and that is called impetus. So in the previous verse, or sorry, in the previous slide, this is what you see, three motivators of action. The three motivators of action is jnanam, gyeyam, and parigyata. So parigyata means the knower. Knower means the person who is supposed to do this activity. Like for example, in the five causes of action, we understood the karta. Karta means the soul. So here it is mentioned as parigyata. Now here the definition of karta has been changed as, or the word has been changed to parigyata, knower, because here it is acquiring knowledge. So he's known as parigyata. Then jnanam. Jnanam means the actual subject. For example, I'm teaching you Gita. So for me, uh, the jnanam for Gita or the knowledge of Gita is something which is known. And then gyeyam. Gyeyam means what is the objective of this knowledge? Yeah, what is the objective of this knowledge? So for example, maybe I'll explain you this objective of knowledge later on by another analogy. So this is the first bullet. Then in the second bullet, Lord Krishna is explaining the constituents of work, constituents of action. Here he's saying when the inspiration is there and the worker is there, then actual activity takes place by the help of senses, including the mind, which is the center of all the senses. Now, once psychologically I am prepared, mentally I am prepared, I have acquired the knowledge, I have planned things well, then the activity starts, which is at this moment. Now, for doing this activity I have to speak. Yeah. So that is what Lord Krishna is saying, that uh, or Srila Prabhupada here is saying, by the help of the senses. So I need to look with my eyes to read the book, or to view the slides, use my vocal cords, use my intelligence, use my mind. All these faculties I have to use in order to deliver this class. So this actual activity takes place after the inspiration process is over, after the psychological process is over. So this is what is covered in the part B of this verse. So here three constituents of action are discussed. Karanam. Karanam means the instruments, the senses. Huh? The karma. Karma is the work. Karma is the work means the process of delivering you this class. That is the karma I am doing. And karta. Karta is I am the karta. Huh? I am the worker who is doing the class. So here parigyata and the karta. Here it is in the process. Parigyata is in the process of acquiring knowledge, and karta is in the process of delivering the work. And here the karta is delivering the work with the help of karanam, with the help of senses. Here parigyata is delivering this knowledge with the help of knowledge he has acquired. So this is the gyayam, meeting the object of knowledge. So let us look at this in with the help of analogy. So I already gave you the analogy of delivering you the Bhagavad Gita class, but let us look at into a different analogy. So analogy is engineering. Huh? Now engineering is jnanam. So jnanam means learn engineering. Jnanam here means learning engineering. Gyayam means the object of engineering. Object of engineering means what the person wants to do after learning the engineering. So the gyayam would be to acquire the skill of engineering. And why should the person acquire the skill of engineering? Because he wants to earn some money, he wants to earn some livelihood. So that is the motivation, or the higher level, or the larger motivation of thing. So jnanam is learning the engineering. Learning engineering would mean going to the classes, reading the books, going to the practical laboratory to understand various physical phenomena that are explained in the experiments, like that. And parigyata would be the student of engineering. So this is the at the level of motivation of action. So it involves parigyata, gyayam, and jnanam. Then after the engineering has been done, after the process of knowledge has been over, then the action starts. Now in action also the three fields are there. Karanam, the engineer would use the hands, the legs, and the mind in order to act. Karma would be, by his knowledge of engineering, he would be solving some technical problems out there. He would be solving some difficulties with the industry that he's working in. If he's a civil engineer, he would be solving some issues like maybe road construction or building construction. If he's a electronics engineer, he would probably be solving some electronic related issues. So this is the karma, the problem solving. And the karta would be the engineer. So the same student who was a parigyata here becomes the engineer here, the karta. So this is how we should understand this particular verse of chapter number 18. And now Lord Krishna explains that both motivation and constituent of action are dictated by modes. Both the motivation is jnanam, jnayam, and parigyata, and the constituent of action is karanam, karma, and karta. So Lord Krishna now starts to explain that both the motivation for action and the constituent for action are dictated by the modes. These modes are sattva, rajas, and tamas. And now we will see that how in the next verse, in the 19th verse, Lord reduces these six items. Six items are jnanam, gyayam, and parigyata. And then the other three are karta, karanam, karta, and karanam, karma, and karta. So these six items he will reduce to three. So in the 19th verse, Lord Krishna is mentioning ज्ञानं कर्म च कर्ता च त्रिधैव गुणभेदतः प्रोच्यते गुणसंख्याने यथावत् शृणु तान्यपि. So he's saying, according to the three different modes of material nature, there are three kinds of knowledge, action, and performer of action. Now hear of them from me. Now let us see how Lord Krishna, uh, although in the 18th verse explains six items, but in the 19th verse only mentions three items. Three items, which are these? These three items are knowledge, action, and performer. Knowledge means jnanam, action means karma, and performer means karta. So here in this chart, you will understand how the six items he has reduced to three, and then he continues to explain that these three items are actually affected by the modes. Now you can see six items of 18.18 have been reduced to only three. And what I have done here is jnanam and karma. These two items are already there in verse number 19, and there was karta and parigyata. As I mentioned to you, karta is same as parigyata. He is the soul. He is the person who is doing the process of knowledge or acquiring knowledge, and he is the same person who is doing the action. So karta and parigyata becomes one. So we have jnanam, karma, and karta. So 1, 2, and 3. And then gyayam and karanam has been excluded in the analysis. Why? Because gyayam and karanam is not affected by modes of material nature. You might ask this question, how? See, karanam means what? Karanam means the senses, the eyes, the nose, the ears. Now these are instruments. For example, if I have a axe and I'm using this axe to cut the tree, now the axe is simply a dead matter. It doesn't have any feeling, it doesn't have any willingness, nothing. So karanam means, which is the senses, does not have any, it is like a matter. So it is not bound by, or it is not affected by modes of material nature. So senses are senses, they will be there. They're simply instruments. Then gyayam. Gyayam is, as I was explaining to you in the analogy of the engineer that I gave you, Gyayam means the person learns the knowledge of engineering to acquire the skill of engineering. Now, skill as such is neither good in goodness, nor in passion, nor in ignorance. So a skill is simply like that. It is like a tool. It is another, like it is like another tool. For example, a person may have the skill of engineering, but that skill he may use in the mode of goodness, or he may use in the mode of passion, he may use in the mode of ignorance. That depends upon other factors, or jnanam, karta, and karma. But skill as such, it does not affect it, is not affected by any modes of material nature. So that is why Gyayam and Karanam, which are like instruments, they have been excluded in the analysis going forward in from verse number 19 onwards. So in verse number 19, the Lord says that I am going to explain you how the action, the knowledge, and the performer of the action, these are also affected by modes of material nature, sattva, rajas, and tamas. So let us start with the uh, verse number 20, where Lord is explaining, first of all, jnana in mode of goodness, jnana in mode of passion, and jnana in mode of ignorance. Here Lord Krishna is saying, sarvabhuteshu yenaikam bhavam avyayamikshate avibhaktam vibhakteshu tajjnanam vidhi satvikam. The Lord is trying to say that knowledge by which one undivided spiritual nature is seen in all living entities, though they are divided into innumerable forms, you should understand to be in the mode of goodness. So, mode of goodness, Lord is saying, in this mode, in this sattvic mode, how does the person perceives others? Here he's saying, Sarva Bhuteshu ye naikam bhavam avyayam ikshate. Sarva Bhuteshu. He sees everyone as one. Ye naikam bhavam avyayam ikshate. Huh? That is the bhava, that is the understanding, that is the situation of such a person. He sees everyone as one. Avibhaktam vibhakteshu taj jnanam vidhi satvikam. He sees everyone as avibhaktam. Avibhaktam means he doesn't see them as, he sees them as undivided. Although they seem to be divided, vibhakteshu, although they are different living entities, but although they are different living entities, they see them all as one. Huh? And taj jnanam vidhi satvikam. So such knowledge is actually sattvic. Such knowledge is in the mode of goodness. Now, how to understand this verse? Let us understand this verse from pure common sense. You might have experienced in your dealings, or in maybe while watching some movies, or maybe hearing some individuals, that actually we are all one. Human beings, we are all humans. Our, if we cut the body of a black person, or if we cut the body of a white person, the blood comes out from these bodies of red color. So from that perspective, we are one. Similarly, Prabhupada also used to give this analogy that the love of a English woman for his child, for her child, compared to a love of an Indian woman to her child is same. Huh? Then another analogy Prabhupada used to give: if I pinch a Muslim and if I pinch a Hindu, the pain is going to be the same. So, just from common sense perspective, if we see that there are people who are in mode of goodness, who are in the mode of sattvic mode, then these people, whenever there are differences of or there are some communal riots, or there are some feelings where people say that we are Hindus, we are Muslims, we are Sikhs, we are Isais, we are Jains, Parsis, and so on. People say that although we are different religion, but ultimately we are human beings. Our our feelings are same. We feel love for our children, we feel hatred towards when somebody speaks untruthfully, or when somebody steals something. We, so every, in all those perspective, we are one. So this is the mood of a person who is in the sattvic nature. This is the knowledge, this is the jnana of a person who is in the sattvic mode. And Srila Prabhupada takes this explanation, or the acharyas, Vaishnava acharyas, take this explanation to the level of soul. They say a person who sees one spirit soul in every living being, whether it is a demigod, a human being, animal, bird, beast, aquatic, or plant, possesses knowledge in the mode of goodness. So, in the fifth chapter, also, we studied this verse number 18, where the Lord says, Vidya Vinay Sampanne Brahmane Gavi Hastini Shuni Chaiva Shwapakecha Panditaha Samadarshinaha. He sees everyone as equal. Everyone as equal, that although they are different from the perspective of bodies, but ultimately the living force inside all these bodies is of one nature, which is soul. So this is the jnana in mode of goodness, where the person sees every living entity uh, as one. Now, going to jnana in mode of passion. Here the Lord says, पृथक्त्वेन तु यज्ञानं नानाभावान् पृथग्विधान् वेत्ति सर्वेषु भूतेषु तज्ज्ञानं विद्धि राजसम्. Here, the person who is in the mode of passion will see every living entity as different, as per the as per its perception of the body, as per the perception of the body that living entity is possessing. So different entity in different body. For example, these type of people differentiate based on caste, creed, color, nationality, and so on. So he would say that, no, I am a Hindu, no, you are a Muslim, so we are different. Hindus should remain with Hindus, Muslims should remain with Muslims. Like that, they will try to create differentiation between different living entities. So different entity in different bodies. So here it says, prathak tvena tu yaj jnanam nana bhavan prathak vidhan. Prathaktvena means different. Tu yaj jnanam. Say whose knowledge is prathak bhavan and nana bhavan. Nana bhavan means understanding, perception. Nana means different. And he sees everywhere different. Prathak vidhan. Veti sarveshu bhuteshu. So in this kind of consciousness, when one somebody sees different living entities as different, then the such knowledge is actually to be considered in the mode of passion. This is rajasic body. Here, if you read the commentaries of various acharyas, Vaishnava acharyas, they also give this understanding that for this verses, that people may have different opinions about soul. Somebody might say that the body itself is a soul, and then somebody might say that there is no soul at all. So these are those people who have different opinion depending upon the understanding, depending upon the knowledge they acquire. So different people will study different things, and based on that they will acquire different knowledge about the soul. So this is what the Vaishnava acharyas are explaining here, that how people in mode of passion will have different understanding about different living entities. Now moving to the next verse, where jnana in mode of ignorance is described. Here the Lord is saying, Yattu krasna vada ke kasmin karye saktama hai tukam attatvartha adalpam cha tattama samudahritam tattamasa mudahritam. He's saying, and that knowledge by which one is attached to one kind of work as the all in all, without knowledge of the truth, and which is very meager, is said to be in the mode of darkness. Here is saying, Yattu kratsnav kratsna vadak ekasmin karye saktam ahetukam. Here, the defining feature of knowledge in mode of ignorance is that such people are attached to only one kind of work, only one kind of activity they are attached to. So, Srila Prabhupada in his purport is defining this as attached to their bodies. So, such people who are only limited to the well being of the body, to the pleasure of the body, and they don't develop any other knowledge based on the authorities or based on the scriptures, they are supposed to be called as. Uh, their knowledge is supposed to be called as in knowledge in mode of ignorance, knowledge in mode of tamasa, tamasic buddhi. Now, Srila Prabhupada, in order to explain the mode of ignorance, further gives several explanations in his purport, saying, one who does not develop knowledge through authorities or scripture injunctions or scriptural injunctions has knowledge limited to the body. So there, people who are in mode of ignorance, they are only limited to their body. Say, if the body is satisfied, if the body is okay, they are okay. Then, for such people, God is money. Knowledge means satisfaction of bodily demands. Then he further explains, it is more or less like the knowledge of ordinary animals, limited only to eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. So this is how Srila Prabhupada is saying, because in the animal body also uh, the consciousness is mainly mode of ignorance. It doesn't know, it cannot have this understanding of what is soul, what is body, what is the difference between soul and body. The animal cannot understand. The animal doesn't go to the temple, the animal doesn't go to the church for spiritual advancement. So such people, such human beings also, their knowledge is just like the consciousness of the ordinary animals, only limited to eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Ahar, nidra, bhay, and mathun. That is the only their purpose, or their purpose of existence. Earn money and satisfy, eat food, sleep, mate, and defend. If somebody is causing trouble to you, then simply defend. That is the whole consciousness of animals, and these people are also in that consciousness. Now here in this purport also, Srila Prabhupada summarizes the jnana in goodness, the jnana in passion, and jnana in ignorance. He's saying, in other words, Knowledge concerning to the spirit soul beyond this body is called knowledge in the mode of goodness. Knowledge producing many theories and doctrines by dint of mundane logic and mental speculation is the product of mode of passion. And knowledge concerned only with keeping the body comfortable is said to be in the mode of ignorance. So this is in nutshell, Srila Prabhupada has summarized the knowledge in mode of goodness, the knowledge in mode of passion, and the knowledge in mode of ignorance. Further, the Lord takes this discussion to karma in goodness, karma in passion, and karma in ignorance. So karma is the activity. So he's saying, what is karma in goodness? In 18.23, he's saying, Niyatam sangarahitam ragadveshatah kritam aphala prepsuna karma yattat satvikam uchyate. Niyatam. Niyatam means what is prescribed. Ah, prescribed duties as per the scriptures. So these people who are in mode of goodness, their activities are regulated. Their activities are as per the prescribed in the scriptural in the scriptures. And then sangarahitam means they don't have this attachment or doership mentality. They don't have that they are the doers. They are fully aware that there are factors beyond them which are responsible for their success and failure in life. That is why they remain detached. They don't claim proprietorship. They don't claim any success for the activities they do, so they remain detached. So they are sangarahitam. Ragadveshatah. Ragadveshatah means they don't have like or dislike. As I was mentioning in the previous slides, that such people uh, don't have any preference for activities which are pleasurable, or they don't have any hatred towards activities which are uncomfortable. So they are ragadveshatah. They are free from any rag and dvesha. And apphala prepsuna. Apphala prepsuna means they don't hanker for any fruitive results, or they don't hanker for, or they are not attached to the results of the activity. They do activity as a matter of duty, so they don't have any selfish desire. So this is karma in mode of goodness. In 24th verse, karma in mode of passion has been mentioned. So karma in mode of passion would mean यत्तु कामेप्सुना कर्म साहंकारेण वा पुनः क्रियते बहुलायासं तद्राजसम उदाहृतम्. Saying, but action performed with great effort by one seeking to gratify his desires and enacted from a sense of false ego is called action in the mode of passion. So these people actually are selfish in nature. Mode of passion, people are selfish in nature unless they have some interest, their own interest being satisfied in the activity they are doing. They are personally motivated, personally benefited by these activities. They don't indulge into these activities. So one here's saying yattu kamep suna karma. Kamep suna means by one with desires for fruitive results. Huh? And then they always have this feeling of sa ahankarena. Sa ahankarena means I am the doer. I have done it. I have done it because of my talent. I have done it because of my intelligence. So they have this false ego. Sa ahankarena va punah. And because they are always motivated for selfish gains, they are always willing to do more and more. They are even willing to do work very hard, work very laboriously, go beyond uh, uh, any normal circumstances also. So they generally indulge in very hectic activities, very I would say uh, uh, ugra karma means very aggressive activities. So that is what is mentioned as bahulayasam, with great labor. Uh, so these people, their karma, their activities are actually in the mode of passion. Then karma in ignorance. Karma in ignorance is defined in verse number 25 by Lord, saying, Anubandham kshayam himsam anapekshya cha paurusham mohadarabhyate karma yattat tamasamuchyate. That action performed in illusion, in disregard of scriptural injunctions, and without concern for future bondage or for violence or distress caused to others, is said to be in the mode of ignorance. So these people who are in mode of ignorance, their activities, because they are not aware of what is good, what is bad, they are not aware of it, so they generally indulge in activities, for example drinking or maybe smoking, something, some activities like that. And these activities become addictive to them in due course of time. And when the activities become addictive, it bounds them. They are really bound. They are kind of very much dependent upon these activities. It is something like a prisoner to the impulses of these activities. So if to a drunkard you see the bottle, he can actually go to any lengths, any degree to acquire that bottle from you. So that is something like he is kind of bound by those kind of activities, by that karma. So their karma, you will find that they are causing bondage, and it will be destructive in nature. Destructive means, for example, vandalism. They will create havoc in normally you will see in the newspapers, people in the rioting people, they have caused damage to the public property. So something like vandalism or terrorism, destroying things and destroying properties and so on, and harmful to self or others. So these are himsa. Himsa means violence. So destruction is mainly related to objects, and himsa is mainly connected with people, others, living entities. So they are harmful to others. And disregard for outcome. It doesn't matter to them what is the outcome. They don't have the understanding whether the outcome will be good or bad. They simply, out of their own whims, out of their own fancies, they kind of act out of bondage, out of some impulses, and they are least bothered about any outcomes. They disregard the scriptures, and they are in illusion. They are in illusion means they don't have any understanding of good or bad. So such people are acting in their karma is in mode of ignorance. Now we have covered jnanam in three modes. We have covered karma in three modes. Now we are moving to the third one, which is karta, which is the doer in three modes: karta in goodness, karta in passion, and karta in ignorance. So karta in goodness, Lord is explaining: mukta sangon, mukta sangoan ahamvadi धृत्युत्साह समन्विताः सिद्धया असिद्धयोर निर्विकार कर्ता सात्विक उच्यते. So what are the characteristics of person who is in mode of goodness? One who performs his duty without association with the modes of material nature, without false ego, with great determination and enthusiasm, and without wavering in success or failure, is said to be a worker in mode of goodness. So Mukta Sango means here Prabhupada is saying without association with the modes of material nature. So without association of modes of material nature means when for example a person is getting a feeling of anger, then he will try to control the anger. He will not try to get uh, carried away in the feeling of anger. Similarly, if a person is feeling lusty, he will try to manage or control the feeling of lust. He will not get carried away with the feeling of lust. So this is mukta sango. Mukta sango. He is not associated with the modes of material nature. Then ahangvadi means anahamvadi means no false ego. He doesn't think that he is actually the doer. He understands that there are factors beyond uh, for his success, and that is why he is not contaminated by any kind of ahankar, any kind of false ego. And he is determined, dhrityu. He's determined. He does not. His endeavor or his consciousness is not something like he starts an activity and then stops this activity, or doesn't continue with the activity. He sets up his goal and perceives those goal with determination. So he's determined. He's enthusiastic. He's enthusiastic. Similarly, he's also mentioned as nirvikaraha. Nirvikaraha means unwavering, unwavering in loss or gain. So if his activity bears some loss, of his activity bears some gain, he doesn't change his opinion, he doesn't change his goal, he doesn't change uh, his destination. So that is the consciousness of somebody who is in mode of goodness, karta in goodness. Then karta in passion. Karta in passion is रागी कर्म फलम प्रेप्सुर लब्धो हिंसात्मको शुचिः हर्ष शोकान्विता कर्ता राजसः परिकीर्तिताः. Here the Lord is saying, the worker who is attached to work and the fruits of work, desiring to enjoy those fruits, and who is greedy, always envious, impure, and moved by joy and sorrow, is said to be in mode of passion. So these people are attached, and these are selfish and greedy. They are envious, they can't see other people prosperous. Whenever they see other people prosperous, they want to become like them. So this is their envious nature. They are impure. Why they are impure? They are impure uh, because they are selfish, they are greedy, they want to acquire more and more. And in order to satisfy this desire of acquiring more and more, they don't bother even to take to illegal means, maybe bribing or bribery and so on, even going to maybe further extents to put harm to others. So they are impure in nature. They are wavering in loss and gain means, if there is a loss, they feel depressed, and if there is a gain, they think that they are the best person in the world, it happened only because of them. So this is the consciousness of a person who is in mode of passion. The Lord now explains karta in ignorance. अयुक्तः प्राकृतः स्तब्धः शठो नैष्कृति कोलसः विषादी दीर्घसूत्री च कर्ता तामस उच्यते. So Lord has given lot of qualities or characteristics about person who is in mode of ignorance. He's saying ayuktaha. Ayuktaha is saying he is never referring to scriptural injunctions. And then prakrataha. Prakrataha means acting according to his nature. He is whimsical. Whimsical means according to his fancies, according to what comes in his mind. He simply acts according to that. Then stabdha. Stabdha means obstinate. He doesn't change his opinion in the wrong way. Wrong way means he is thinking something. He makes a wrong destination, a wrong goal as his objective in the life, and he continues to pursue that goal obstinately. He doesn't listen to somebody if somebody wants to explain to him. Then shatho means cheating propensity. So he doesn't feel bad if he cheats someone. He continues to cheat someone for his own personal motivation, for his own personal gains. He doesn't mind that. Insulting, even if he has to insult somebody to achieve his objective, he doesn't mind that. Then he's vishadi. Vishadi means lazy. Dirghasutri means procrastinating. Procrastinating means if he can complete some activity in one day, he will kind of take 1 year to complete that activity, or even after that, he may not complete do that activity. So that is known as Dirghasutri. So, uh, uh, so uh, Lord has given a lot of qualities about or characteristics about karta in ignorance. Now, after describing uh, the knowledge in three modes, the karma in three modes, and the karta in three modes. So knowledge, jnanam, karma, and karta in three modes. Now the Lord moves to describe three more things, which is two more things, which is intelligence, which is buddhi in three modes, and dhriti, which is determination in three modes. So buddhi in three modes and determination in three modes, dhriti in three modes. Now, before I give you the explanation of buddhi in three modes and dhriti, which is determination in three modes, let us first of all understand what is the difference between jnana, buddhi, and dhriti. So the word jnana and buddhi can sometimes appear similar. So let us first of all understand what is the difference between jnana and buddhi. So jnana, when we say, we understand that we are talking mainly from the perspective of perception. Perception means, I would say, understanding, and this understanding is practically is more at the level of theoretical level. For example, I gave you the example of engineering. Huh? Engineering, I would learn engineering and I would acquire the skill of engineering. So the knowledge of engineering is at the theoretical level. I would understand various subjects, various concepts of engineering. That is at the theoretical level. So this is at the level of jnana. And at the level of buddhi, what happens is that the person now starts to apply this knowledge which is at the theoretical level. And in order to apply this knowledge, the person should know what is good and what is bad. And that is where buddhi comes, or that is where the intelligence comes. So intelligence means knowing between what to do and what not to do. So an engineer, with the help of the knowledge, uh, will try to make a decision whether should he design some particular equipment or not design that particular equipment, or maybe whether this project should proceed or whether this project should not proceed, that kind of thing. So knowledge means, or jnana means, theoretical understanding, and intelligence means a proper perspective where a person knows what to do and what not to do, between understanding what is right and what is wrong. Like for example, a doctor may have this knowledge of maybe how to deliver a baby. He would gynecologist may have this knowledge of how to perform a surgery and deliver a baby. But buddhi will tell that, okay, if somebody comes to the doctor with the request that, no sir, the lady is pregnant with a baby girl, so and I don't want this girl, so can you do the abortion for this baby, for this lady? But the doctor would know that no, doing this or differentiating between a baby boy or a baby girl is not good. It is not correct as per the law. So there the intelligence part comes, and then with the use of this intelligence, the doctor will act accordingly. So this is the difference between jnana and buddhi. And what is dhriti? Dhriti means jnana or buddhi is still at the level of at a subtle level, at the level of mind. But in order to continue doing that same activity again and again for a long term purpose in a consistent way, you need determination. You need determination. That is known as dhriti. So the Lord in 18.29 verse is now mentioning uh, how understand Arjuna, how intelligence is in the three modes of nature, and how dhriti or determination in the three modes of nature. So he will now continue to explain these two parts in the three modes of nature. So let us see intelligence first of all, or buddhi in first of all three modes of nature: buddhi in goodness, buddhi in passion, and buddhi in ignorance. So in 30th verse, the Lord is saying, Pravrattim cha nivrattim cha karya karye bhaya bhaye bandham moksham cha ye vetti buddhi sa partha satviki. Here Lord is saying, Pravrattim cha nivrattim cha. Pravrattim means what to do. Nivrattim means what not to do. Cha karya karye bhaya bhaye. Karya akarye. Karya means what is ought to be done and what is not ought to be done. Karya akarye. Bhaya bhaye. Bhaya bhaye means bhaya and abhaya. Bhaya means what is to be feared and what is not to be feared. So these people who are in, whose buddhi is in mode of goodness, they understand. They understand the difference between what is good, what is bad, what is to be done, what is not to be done, what is to be feared, what is not to be feared. And they also understand bandham moksham chaya veti, what activity will bound you and what activity will liberate you, what activity will lead you to transcendence, what activity will lead you to the Supreme Lord. So these people understand these factors, so they are properly situated in mode of goodness. So buddhi in mode of goodness is defined by these characteristics. Then buddhi in passion. Buddhi in passion, the Lord is saying, यया धर्मम अधर्मम च कार्यम च कार्यमेव च अयथाव अयथावत् प्रजानाति बुद्धि सा पार्थ राजसी. Here Lord is saying, O son of Pratha, that understanding which cannot distinguish between religion and irreligion. Huh? यया धर्मम अधर्मम च कार्यम च कार्यम मेव च, हाँ, कार्य अकार्य, धर्म अधर्म. So such buddhi or that intelligence which cannot distinguish between religion and irreligion, and which cannot distinguish between what is to be done and what is not to be done, such an activity is known as in the mode of passion. So uh, that is mode of passion, buddhi in mode of passion. Then buddhi in mode of ignorance. Buddhi in mode of ignorance, the verse goes like this: Adharmam dharmamiti ya manyate tamasa vrata sarvarthan viparitancha buddhi sapartha tamasi. Here Lord is saying, Adharmam dharmam iti ya. Adharmam dharmam iti ya. Adharmam is become dharma, or adharmam is same as dharma. Iti ya manyate tamasa vrata. Who understands it like this, he is in mode of ignorance. Ya manyate, manyate means who understands like this. Tamasa vrata, he is in tamasa, he is in tamasic buddhi. Sarvarthan viparitanscha. Sarvarthan viparitanscha means any activity he does it opposite. He does it opposite to those who are in mode of goodness. Sarvarthan vipiritanscha. Buddhi sapartha tamasi. Such people have this buddhi which is known as tamasi buddhi. So who understand irreligion to be irreligion, and he always thinks in the opposite direction. That is something people say. General, the scripture says drinking alcohol is bad, but these people think otherwise. Drinking alcohol is good, and then whatever is irreligion, they will think it to be irreligion. So the religion says that worshipping Lord is good, we should worship the Lord. They will say not worshipping Lord is actually the real religion. So this is the tendency, or this is the buddhi of people who are in mode of ignorance. Here Srila Prabhupada is giving some examples for people who are in buddhi, whose intelligence in ignorance. He's saying, men in ignorance understand a great soul to be a common man and accept a common man as a great soul. So people who are in mode of ignorance, or buddhi in ignorance, they consider great souls, Mahatmas, as ordinary people, and ordinary people as Mahatmas. And then in all the activities, they simply take wrong path. Therefore, their intelligence is in mode of ignorance. So let us now move to dhriti in goodness, dhriti in passion, and dhriti in ignorance. So dhriti is determination. And we understood that determination is something when you are doing the action, when you are doing the activity. Because and buddhi is something which is before the action starts. It is at the subtle level, but dhriti is at the level of action. Here, dhriti in goodness is, Lord is defining, धृत्या यया धार्यते मनः प्राणेन्द्रिय क्रियाः योगेन व्यभिचारिण्या धृतिः सा पार्थ सात्विकी. धृत्या यया धार्यते, that dhriti, that determination which dharyate, which holds, manha pranendriya kriyaha. Manha means mind, prana means life, indriya means senses. Manha pranendriya kriya, kriya means actions. Huh? That holds mana, prana, and indriya yogena avyabhicharinya. Yogena avyabhicharinya means who controls their mind, who controls their senses by yoga. By doing yoga, they can do ashtang yoga, they can do gyan yoga, they can do karma yoga, they can do bhakti yoga. So it is not mentioned which specific yoga, it is simply saying yoga. Yoga is the process of cleansing our bad desires. So uh, so one who tries to controls the mana, prana, indriya, and kriya by yogena avyabhicharinya. Avyabhicharinya means sustained way, in a sustained way, in a consistent way, in a long term way. Such dhriti, dhriti sa partha satviki. Such dhriti, such determination, O partha, is satviki in nature. Then dhriti in passion. Dhriti in passion is yayatu dharma kamarthan dhritya dharyate arjuna prasangena phalakankshi dhriti sa partha rajasi. यया तु धर्म कामार्थान धृत्या धार्यते अर्जुना. यया तु, whose धर्म काम अर्थ धृत्या धार्यते अर्जुना प्रसंगेन फलाकांक्षी. So whose determination for any religious activities for dharma, for any economical activities for artha, and for any sense gratification activity for any kama, it is only uh, determination is only motivated by phalakankshi, by fruitive desires. Such dhriti is known as rajasi, oh my dear Arjuna. So that is dhriti in passion. And then dhriti in ignorance. Lord is saying, yaya swapnam bhayam shokam vishadam madame vacha na vimunchanti durmedha dhriti sa partha tamasi. Here is saying, whose ignorance he cannot go beyond, or whose dhriti or whose determination cannot go beyond dreaming. Yaya swapnam. Dreaming means, say the determination is only in the dreams. Say I will do this, I will become a cricket player, I will become a businessman, I will become such a learned person. This dhriti or the determination is only limited to the dreams, doesn't come out in action. And then fearfulness, the determination goes away. If there is some fear, there is some fear of loss, there is some fear of failure, the dhriti goes away, the determination goes away. Then shokam, lamentation, the dhriti, if they always, the determination, their determination is weak, they always give excuses. They always give, no, this cannot be done like this. See how I can do this, I am so poor, I do not have real knowledge. So such people who continue to lament, I am so unfortunate, the Lord has not given me the right talent, I cannot do it. So like that, this determination is full of lamentation. Moroseness means vishad. Vishad means depression. Huh? So bhayam shokam vishadam, moroseness. So they will continue to lament, they will continue to be morose, they will be depressed, they will always be dejected, they will not never be motivated to doing anything. So an illusion means they don't have the understanding of right and wrong. So there, such people, their determination is in ignorance. Now, after completing this explanation of buddhi in three modes and determination in three modes, now the Lord is going to explain us sukha or happiness in three modes. Now, in this chart, what I'm trying to explain here is, so we have so far understood five things. The Lord has explained five particular items related to activity. One is jnana, one is karma, one is karta, one is buddhi, and one is dhriti. So five items. Jnana means knowledge, karma is the activity, and karta is the doer, is the performer of the activity. Buddhi is the intelligence, and dhriti is the determination. Now, for all these five things, ultimately, what is the objective? The objective is happiness. We do any knowledge, we acquire any knowledge. Why? Our goal is to have happiness. Why we do any activity? We want to be happy. Why? Why we apply any intelligence? Why we choose between right and wrong when we are deciding for any activity? Because we want to avoid any unhappiness and we want to be happy. Similarly, and determination, we want to continue be determined for doing any activity. Ultimately, the whole purpose is sukha, happiness. And now the Lord gives the explanation in the next three verses or four verses: sukha in goodness, sukha in passion, and sukha in ignorance. Let us see that. So, sukham in goodness. So, in verse number 36 and 37, the Lord is saying, what are the characteristics of sukha in goodness? He's saying, sukham tvi danim trividham shrunu me bharta shabha abhyasad ramate yatra dukhantam cha nigachati. So he's saying, O best of the Bharatas, Sukham Tvidanim trividham shrunu me bhartajapa. Now please hear from me. Shrunu me bhartashabha. Shrunu means hear. Now here, oh my dear Bharat, that three kinds of happiness, sukham, tvidanim, trividham. Sukham, the happiness is also in three modes. And what are the characteristics of these kind of happiness? He's saying, abhyasad ramate yatra dukhantam cha nigachati. Abhyasad ramate. Abhyasad means this happiness doesn't come instantaneously. Instantaneously means, for example, what are the example of instantaneous happiness? You are feeling a little depressed, go to a movie theater. You see the hero and heroine dancing there, singing nice songs, villain getting beaten by the hero. You feel a sense of happiness immediately. Yeah? You go to a chaat pakodi shop, you go to a chaat counter, eat some golgappas, eat some chaat pakodi, and then you immediately feel enjoyment, sense enjoyment. But this kind of sense enjoyment that we get is very instantaneous. The Lord is saying the happiness in mode of goodness is not instantaneous. It requires practice. It requires abhyas. And that's what he's saying. Abhyasad ramate yatra. This comes by practice. This is not very easily obtained. Practice means, for example, you want good health. When you will have good health, you will be happy. But for having good health, you have to be practicing some do's and practicing some don'ts, and you have to do it consistently. So practicing some do's would be go for the morning walk, do your exercise regularly, and some don'ts are don't eat something which is fatty in nature, or don't eat something which is unhealthy in nature, and like that. So that is something which is the Lord is saying, abhyasad ramate yatra. This happiness comes by abhyas. This comes by practice. And then dukhantam cha nigachati. And this kind of happiness ultimately destroys the sorrow. So this is the sukham in goodness. And in the 37th verse, he further continues to elaborate on sukham in goodness. Yatadagre vishamiva pariname amratopamam tat sukham satvikam proktam atma buddhi prasadajam. So he's saying yatad agre visham iva. Visham is poison. Iva means like. It is like poison. Yatad agre means in the beginning. Yatad agre visham iva. In the beginning, it is like poison. And then pariname amratopamam. But when the parinam comes in the results, it is like amrita. Pariname amratopamam. Tat sukham satvikam. This is the tat sukham satvikam. This kind of sukha is satvik. And then he further gives the last characteristic, proktamatma buddhi prasadajam. This I am telling you, this is proktam. Proktam means telling. I'm telling you, this kind of happiness, this kind of sukha ultimately leads to atma buddhi prasadajam. Atma buddhi prasadajam. Atma buddhi means self-realization. This ultimately leads to self-realization. This realization is that no, I am not this body, I am the spirit soul. Now, this realization comes because of sukha in goodness. So if you are indulging in activities of goodness, jnana of goodness, dhriti of goodness, and all these other factors in goodness, then ultimately the sukha, the happiness that you will derive at the end of all these things is sukha, which will really make you, leads you towards self-realization. Atma buddhi prasadajam. Prasad means the gift. uh, Prasadajam means this is born out of satisfaction. This is the prasad that you get. This is the prasad that you get in the happiness which is in goodness. And then in the 30th verse, he is explaining sukham in passion, the happiness in mode of passion. He's saying, Vishayendriya Sanyogat, Vishayendriya Sanyogat, Yattat Agre Amritopamam, Pariname Vishamiva, Tat Sukham Rajasam Tat Sukham Rajasam Smratam. So he's saying, Vishaya Indriya Sanyogat. Vishaya Indriya Sanyogat. So this sukha comes when the vishaya comes in the contact of the indriyas. Vishaya means the sense objects, and the indriyas are the eyes, nose, ears, and so on. So when the sense objects comes in the contact of the senses, so the vishaya comes in the contact of indriyas. Vishaya indriya sanyogat. So when the sanyog happens of the vishaya and the indriyas, then uh, this happiness comes, and this happiness is yatat tagre amritopamam. This happiness in the agre means in the beginning, is like nectar. Amrit opamam. In the beginning, this is like nectar, but pariname vishamiva. But the parinam, but the result in the end is visham iva, is like poison. Tat sukham rajasam smratam. Tat sukham rajasam smratam. So this is what the Lord is saying. What is the nature of things which are in, or the thing nature of happiness which is in mode of passion. And if you recall, in the fifth chapter also there is a verse where the Lord is saying that uh, yehi samsparshaja bhoga dukha yonaya evahi. uh, Samsparshaja bhoga. Samsparshaja bhoga means when the senses comes in the contact of bhoga. Bhoga means the sense objects. Then dukkha yonaya evahi. Dukkha yonaya evahi means here the word dukkha yona. Dukkha yonaya. Yonaya means womb. So when the senses comes in contact with the sense objects and desire to enjoy the sense objects, then ultimately you understand that this is dukkha yonaya. Dukkha yonaya means, yoni means womb. Womb means when the lady becomes pregnant with a baby, the ultimately that lady has to deliver. There is no other option. It has to come out. Similarly, when the senses comes in the contact of sense objects and try to enjoy these sense objects, then it is dukkha yonaya. Then the dukkha is getting is then the living entity gets pregnant with the dukkha. The dukkha starts. Although in the beginning it may be pleasant, amrita, but the dukkha ultimately it will lead to dukkha. It will ultimately have to deliver dukkha. Now, that is what the Lord is saying in the fifth chapter. So, which is nectar in the beginning, but poison in the end. So, although there is some happiness in the mode of passion, but that happiness is only in the beginning and it is very, very little. Then he further explains sukham in mode of ignorance. He's saying, यददग्रे चानुबन्धे च सुखं मोहनमात्मनाः निद्रालस्य प्रमादोत्थं तत्तामसमुदाहृतम् यदद अग्रे चानुबन्धे च सुखम mohan matmanaha. He's saying, and that happiness which is blind to self realization, which is delusion from beginning to end, and which arises from sleep, laziness, and illusion, is said to be in the nature of ignorance. So he's giving a lot of characteristics. So how this mode of this happiness in mode of ignorance comes? This arises from sleep, laziness, and illusion. Nidra alasya pramad ottham. Nidra is sleep, alasya is laziness, pramad means illusion. So from sleep, laziness, and illusion, this kind of sukha arises. And what is the other nature? Which is delusion from beginning to end, and which arises, okay, yad agre chanu bandhe cha. Yad agre means in the beginning, chanu bandhe, anubandhe means in the end. So this happiness which is from the beginning and which is from the end and till the end, which is delusion and only delusion. So there is no happiness in this sukha, neither in the beginning nor in the end. So in sukha in mode of passion, at least there was some sukha in the beginning, although in the end it delivers pain. But in mode of ignorance, the sukha is actually delusion and delusion and delusion, both in the beginning and both in the end. And this is blind to self-realization. There is no self-realization. There is no possibility of self-realization, because this is acting in the contrary of the scriptural rules and regulations. So there is no possibility of any self-realization. Yeah, so in the purport of both 38th and 39th verse, let us see how Srila Prabhupada has explained this. So in the purport to 38th verse, Srila Prabhupada has explained happiness in mode of passion. He's saying, a young man and a young woman meet, and the senses drive the young man to see her, to touch her, and come close to her. In the beginning, it may be very, very pleasing to the senses, but at the end or after some time, it becomes like a poison. They are separated or there is divorce. So this is a very, very you can see common thing that you can see in the outside world also, where a lady and a person and a man may come together because of attraction to each other, but ultimately when the men come to know that they have to take a responsibility of the children, they have to responsibility of the lady, they have to responsibility take the responsibility of the whole family, then it becomes something an eye opening affair. So no, yes, it appeared very pleasing in the beginning, but see, it is really, really a tough job to maintain a family, to maintain, to keep guiding the children properly, to keep protection, to give protection properly to the wife, and to actually manage the whole affair in a way that the whole thing goes very nicely and properly. And then if that doesn't work out well, then these people are separated or there is a divorce. So this is happiness in mode of passion. So appearing pleasing in the beginning, but in the end it is poison. Then for the person in mode of passion, uh, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning, for the person in the mode of passion, there might be some kind of ephemeral happiness in the beginning and at the end distress. But for the person in the mode of ignorance, there is only distress both in the beginning at the end. So if a person starts to drink alcohol, there is no happiness, maybe only very small kind of kick that the person gets, but ultimately in the beginning when he gets up in the morning, his head is very heavy, his consciousness is down, and in the long term ultimately the liver is gone, the health is deteriorated, the family has left over. So like that. So happiness in the mode of ignorance is problem, is pain in the beginning and is pain in the end also. So this is happiness in the mode of passion, ignorance, and goodness. Now coming to the final conclusive verse of this class today, which is the 40th verse, and it summarizes the whole thing which we have discussed about the modes of nature in the whole section of this particular chapter. It summarizes the influence of modes, and this is very, very important. And uh, I will also explain you how this particular how this particular verse connects to the rest of the chapter of the 18th chapter. He's saying, the Lord is saying, न तदस्ति पृथिव्यां वा द्विवि देवेषु वा पुनः सत्वं प्राकृतिर्जैर्मुक्तं यद एभिः स्यात् त्रिभिर्गुणैः. Saying, न तद अस्ति पृथिव्यां वा, न तद अस्ति पृथिव्यां वा दिवि देवेषु वा पुनः. Prithivya means earth, deveshu means heavens, divi deveshu means heavenly planets. न तद अस्ति पृथिव्यां व न दिवि देवेषु व पुनः. There is no being existing on earth or in the heavens, neither on the earth planet nor in the other higher planets or lower planets. Sattvam prakritir jair muktam. Huh? Muktam means freed. Sattvam means existence. So here Sattvam doesn't mean mode of goodness. Sattvam also has another meaning, which means existence. Sattvam prakritir jair muktam. There is no place on this earth, there is no living being on this earth, there is no living being even in the heavenly planets, which is free, whose existence is free from these three modes, from sattva, rajas, and tamas. There is no one. Yad ebhi syat tribhir gunay. And these modes are actually born of material nature. Which modes? Which are born from material nature. Yad ebhi syat tribhir gunai. These three modes which are born out of material nature. So there is no one either on this planet or on the other planets like Swarga who is bound or is free from these modes. Now many times we see that in the Puranas that demigods also get influenced by these three modes. For example, you might have heard about stories of Indra. Indra is the king of heavens. Indra sometimes we see act in a very lusty way or act in a very selfish way. Uh, for example, when Vishwamitra was performing tapasya, then Indra became fearful that because of the tapasya of Vishwamitra, his throne will be in danger. So he sends Menaka, he sends Rambha. So the Indra is also under the influence of modes. One time Indra got attracted towards the wife of Gautam Rishi, and then the result was Ahilya was born. So when Indra becomes lusty also sometimes. So what the point I'm trying to make is the Lord is saying there is no one who is on this earth or on these heavens, either Devata or Manushya on this earth, who is freed from these three modes. And these three modes are born out of material nature. So what the Lord is trying to say in this verse is that there is a problem. The problem is that each one of us, each one of the living entities, ranging from Brahma, Lord Brahma, to the lowermost living entity on this existence, is affected by these modes. And these modes, sometimes they are in mode of goodness, sometimes we act in mode of passion, sometimes we act in mode of ignorance. So every living entity is bound, is helplessly bound by these three modes. So this is the problem statement the Lord is trying to give. And then you will see that from 41st verse onwards, he will try to connect this problem statement, that this is the problem, and then how to deal with this problem. So he starts explaining the varnashram system. Varnashram system, the system, the social system of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. And in this system of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, where Brahmana is in the mode of goodness, Kshatriya is in mode of goodness and passion, Vaishya is in mode of passion, and then Shudra largely in mode of ignorance and passion. So how these various living entities, they are bound with these different modes, how they can act in a social system, act in a varnashram system of Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, and try to connect themselves to the divine by acting according to their natures. They try to connect themselves to the divine and then move towards the path of transcendence. So here, in the beginning of the chapter, Arjuna asks this question, between a difference between sannyas and tyaga. The Lord explains that any activity you do, it doesn't matter what the activity is, but if that activity is performed in the spirit of renunciation, then that activity can lead you towards liberation. And how that activity will lead to liberation, that is further explained in the later sections, where the Lord is explaining to Arjuna about 5 causes of action. So when the person understands that uh, beyond himself, there are many other agencies which are actually participant or cause of success in the activity that the living entity is doing, he gets this feeling of shelter towards the Lord, and that is something which liberates the person. So which is not bounding. So and then in the later on section, he continues to explain further that all these activities, all these causes of actions are in the three modes of nature. So he first of all explains the three motivators for action. Then he explains the three constituent of action: jnanam, gyeyam, and parigyata. Then karta, karma, and karanam. So that is how he explained the constituents of action. And then he further, these 6 items he further summarizes into 3, and I just explained to you how these 6 can actually be squeezed into the 3. And then he then continues to explain that all these 3 items of jnana, all these 3 items of action, sorry, are bound with 3 modes of material nature. And then he further elaborates that the buddhi and the determination and ultimately happiness, the end result of all these activities, are all bound in modes of nature. And then he says that not only earthly planet beings, in the planet beings which are on the heavens also are bound all these modes. So the problem statement is ready. Now be ready for hearing the solution which follows from verse number 41 onwards in the 18th chapter, that we will discuss in our next class. So thank you very much. So that is for today. All glories to Srimad Bhagavad Gita. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you very much for your participation and attention. Hare Krishna. We are now.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Anuradha Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Prabhu, you explained all these modes. It comes under our karma phala only, Prabhu, again.
Mataji, see, the point is we are souls, and the soul is covered with the bodies, various type of bodies. And these
Yes, Prabhu.
bodies are all laced with, all imbued with, all, I would say, influenced with the three modes: sattva, rajas, and tamas.
That's it.
Right?
Okay. That it will come from the beginning only. It will be there in our this one, or
Yeah,
else it changes according to
yeah.
our nature,
So,
Prabhu.
so the body that we get is actually because of our karma phala and our
Yes,
desires and
Prabhu.
our desires. So we may have
Yes,
some
Prabhu.
desires and we may have done some activities. So karma phala is something like a bank account, credit in the bank account, and
Yes, Prabhu.
desire is something which we want to become. So at the end of our life, the soul goes together with the subtle body. In the subtle body, which is mind, body, and intelligence, there are two things. There is our desire, and there is our karma phala, which is our credits. So our desire may be that we want to become a very rich person. We want to take birth in the family of a very rich person. Then the Prakriti
Yes.
sees that do you have that karma phala? Do you have that bank account, bank balance to purchase that desire?
Yes,
And then
Prabhu.
it decides for the living entity whether you are entitled for that. If you are not entitled, then the Prakriti gives you that particular body, that kind of a birth which is suitable and in accordance or in approval of your karma phala. That's how it works.
Okay. So we have to change according to this one, no, Prabhu.
Yeah. So for example, if somebody has done a lot of good deeds in the past, then the person is
Yeah.
supposed to get a very sattvic body.
Yes,
Sattvic
Prabhu.
body means where his tendencies, where his inclination, pravritti, nivritti would be more towards goodness. So
Being in Satvik also, you may change, no, Prabhu.
yeah, so even if somebody is in mode of passion or mode of ignorance, he can change the modes by making proper choices. He can understand, okay, I'm in the mode of passion or I'm in the mode of ignorance. He will act accordingly and make proper choices. For example, take to a yoga process, take to bhakti yoga or ashtang yoga or whatever. I mean, we recommend bhakti yoga because that is the easiest one to do in this age. And by taking to that yoga process, he can advance, he can start moving towards goodness and ultimately towards pure goodness. That's how he can
Okay.
change. And that change may
Okay,
not
Prabhu.
necessarily happen in this lifetime. That may take several
Oh,
lifetimes.
it may take so many times.
Yeah, it may
Okay,
take.
Prabhu.
It
Thank you.
may take.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
I have a question that often I find unable to understand. See, who is the real Karta?
Mhm.
Because ultimately we have to there has to be a sanction from God. Just as in the state, the chief minister is the real doer. He only, if he clears certain things, then they are implemented.
Yeah.
Here also, if God clears those things, those are ultimately
Mhm.
implemented. So,
Yeah.
in what proportion, or is there any proportion or any free will to us that we can do of our own?
No, we are in that sense. We are. We have our free will, which we can use to the degree we like. But for example, the free will that we have, like I mentioned to you, uh, uh, say if I want to become, say for example, very rich or very powerful, or very intelligent, then
Yes.
that free will has the limitation. For example, the Lord will see, or the Prakriti will see how much karma phala I have, or good karma I have to honor that free will. So if
Okay.
but that does not mean that the living entity cannot use that free will, as I mentioned to Anuradha ji just now, that free will he should be using towards all good purposes. And even though the living entity does not have karma phala right now, but by making the right choices, he is actually creating his future bodies, or his future births, or future destination. So how the karma phala came? Karma phala came only because of karma. And now by making
Okay.
the right choices, he can manipulate that karma phala. He can reduce the negative karma, he can increase the positive karma, or he can actually do akarma. Akarma means those activities which are spiritual in nature, which
Okay.
not only leads one to liberation, but also destroys the bad and the good karmas of the past, so that the living entity does not have to take any birth in future. So that way he can act.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So the living entity has the choice. Like uh, for example, if you try to conceptualize, we have jails in our countries. Now if somebody may ask, who have made these jails? Is the jail made by the government, or jail made by the criminals? Who has actually made the jails? So externally it may seem that the jail has been made by the government, but ultimately the jail has been made by the criminals only. If there were no criminals in the society, there is no need for a jail, isn't it?
Yes.
So similarly, we are like criminals. Why? Because we have we are desiring to live not in accordance with the God's rules or God's laws. And that is why the Lord creates this separate universe, separate material existence, and he subjects us to these material existence, so that we can enjoy our likes and dislikes, like that. But ultimately the Lord wants us to come back to him, and that is why
Okay.
he gives all this knowledge in the form of Bhagavad Gita, and in the form of spiritual master. So if there were no scriptures, say presence of scriptures in this world indicates that we have free will. If everything
Okay.
was programmed,
That's right.
why would there is a need of scriptures? The Lord can program us in a way that, okay, just come back to me, and then we will come back to him. But there is a scripture, and the Lord encourages us to read scriptures, change our lives, change our actions, and then prepare a path where we can actually go back to him. So that's how the whole thing
Okay.
is designed.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, any other question, any other comments? I hope the class was easy and understandable.
Yes,
It's
Prabhu, it
nearly.
was very easy to understand, Prabhu.
Okay, good to
Yes,
hear that.
Prabhu.
Thank you.
Yes, Prabhu.
Okay, any other comments or question devotees may have?
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Hare
Yes, Tauji.
कैसे हैं आयुष्मान भव शस्वी भव
हाँ जी.
खुश रहो पल पल very very interesting very good very easy very simple made by you too easy to understand mansa vacha karma and in all those stages and if we are little bit keeping in touch with you and with the senior gurus and with the scriptures the life will become much easier for all of us.
Thank you for that thank you for that compliment. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you.
Aishman Bhav, Shasi Bhav,
Yes.
Khush Bhav.
Venkopa
Hari
Prabhu,
Om
you are
Tat
raising
Sat.
your hand. You have any questions, sir? Venkopa ji? Sir, I see your hand raised. Do you have any question? Okay, maybe by mistake. Okay, any other remarks? Let me welcome to Vasudevan Prabhu, Sunanda Mataji, Rekha ji, Kishorji, Gita Mataji, and Venkobaji. So welcome. Sorry.
That was a good class, Prabhuji, and very simple to understand. You had simplified it.
Yes,
It's
Prabhu.
very interesting.
Yeah, the dynamics of all these various items is very important to understand to appreciate the class. What is jnana? What is buddhi? And how these 6 items are reduced to 3. So that is something which is really interesting in this class. I personally like. Yeah.
True, that's true.
Yeah. Okay, Jeevan Prabhu, any question? Any comments?
Only thing is, I really like how the 6 items are reduced to 3. I was really wondering. But
Yeah.
actually, your explanation, cleared all my doubts.
Yes, Prabhu. So
Very
you are
wonderful explanation.
you are a engineering mind, so analytical in nature. So you would appreciate it. It is
Correct,
Sankhya.
correct. So the
It is-
example of engineering, student, and then how
Yeah.
it gets implemented.
Yeah.
Very nice explanation, Prabhu.
Okay,
Really
Prabhu.
good.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Hare Krishna.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, Prabhuji. Thank you.
Today's knowledge has also given us a kind of introspection
Mhm.
to know where we really stand
Yeah.
in the mode of goodness, passion, or the
Yeah.
third one.
Correct. The ignorance. Correct.
And we can, that is how we can think of improving ourselves.
Yes. So this is actually a fight.
Yes,
This is a lifetime fight with the modes.
right.
With the
Yes.
modes. So Lord Krishna says in 7th chapter, Daivi hi esha gunamayi mama maya duratyaya. So this divine energy of mind, which is full of 3 modes of material nature, is very difficult to overcome. But then he says, Mameva ye prapadyante mayam etam tarantite. But who takes shelter unto me can easily cross over it. So the easy formula is to engage in the path of bhakti, to
Quite right.
continuously connect ourselves to the Lord, and the Lord will take care of the modes. We don't have to worry. We simply have to worry whether our bhakti is going on well or not. That's all.
Okay.
That is the
Really
simple
nice.
thing. That is the simple thing. Don't need to worry. My modes are troubling me, not troubling me. Just adopt the process with wholeheartedly, and that is going to take care. Start taking the treatment from day 1, and
Okay.
don't worry about the disease. The disease will be taken care by the doctor.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so
Krishna.
much. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Yes.
Hare Krishna.
Hare
Can
Krishna.
I
Thank you.
add
Thank you
one
very
comment?
Yes. Yes. Please.